All right, let's get to it. Welcome to another episode of Unlocking Your More with Janna Holterman. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about anxiety and fear and worry, but from the perspective of like, how the hell do you tell if this is your intuition, if this is like something you need to respond to, or like if it's your brain being delusional, right? Right? We've all been there. So it's like, okay, like, is it actually a problem or is it just me? Right? So I want you to think of a time where you felt like something bad had happened to somebody, or you're like, oh, so-and-so's gonna be cheating on me, or, the kid is gonna be getting into something dangerous, right? Especially like moms, dog moms, cat moms, right? Like, we frequently can have fears, worries, anxieties about our babies, that something bad has happened to them. So, is every time we have that feeling, is it like an intuitive pull that something is truly wrong? Like, do we have to do something about this, or is this just our brain overreacting? That's what we're going to dive into. So, the first way and the easiest way to tell the difference between having a fear, worry, anxiety situation and it just being an emotional response versus intuition. So, I want you to ask yourself, when this comes up, it's going to be harder for you to like retrospectively look in and see, but for future, I want you to kind of like absorb this and have a moment when this comes up in the near future and ask yourself, in this situation, what came first? Was it the idea that something bad was going to happen, or was it the emotion? If you were already kind of ruminating, right? You were spiraling out. You were already thinking a certain kind of way. You were already feeling a certain kind of way. You were already feeling a little worried, a little anxious. And then you're like, oh my God, what if something bad happens to blank? Or what if, somebody makes a bad decision, blah, 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 right? Like, if the emotion came first, it is not your intuition, right? And I want you to like use this as a tool to be like, oh, okay, so this is not like a premonition, a guarantee that something bad is going to happen to this person. No, this is a emotional response, and we're going to get into that in a minute. But so then if that's the case, the emotions come first, it's an emotional response, nervous system response, brain response. That's not necessarily a actually going to happen thing. How do we tell if it's intuition then? So, your intuition is always neutral. When you have a intuitive premonition or an intuitive experience, we each can receive intuitive information a little bit differently. You might just have like an inner knowing. You might have a thought that comes through your brain. You might hear something. You might just like have this strong sense, right? All of these different things. You might get a visual, a memory, all of these things could be intuitive information, but you interpret that information, it comes through neutrally, out of nowhere. There was no buildup, there was no thoughts, there was no strong feelings prior to, it was just all of a sudden, I need to call so-and-so, or I should go check on this, or I need to move out of the way, right? That is intuition. Comes out of the blue. There, it is completely neutral. There's no emotional response. If it's something that is something that's like significant, right? After that thought comes through, that intuitive premonition, nudge, whatever you want to call it, comes through, you may become emotional because it could be something that is emotionally significant. But the thought came first, right? The intuitive nudge came first, and then the emotions. That is how you know it's intuition. So then we have to ask ourselves, hey, the emotions came after. So knowing this, is it something I need to act upon right now? If it wasn't an intuitive nudge, hey, call so-and-so, check on this person, go to this place, move out of the way because there's now a car driving by that was like so close to hitting you if you didn't move, right? We get that. Okay, do I need to respond? How do I need to respond? How do I need to take action on this? I need to call this person. I need to do this, right? Like, ask yourself, it was an intuitive nudge, cool. Because the emotions came afterwards. What do I need to do now? How do I need to respond? What do I need to take action on to move through the situation, to be best prepared for the situation, right? Or to support somebody, right? A lot of the times we get intuitive nudges about other people. So that's something just to be aware of. Even just like, oh, I need to look in on this thing. And so we have that, right? Intuitive nudge, take action on it, move forward. Be so grateful that your intuition came through strong in that moment, and really clock that as being like, hey, my intuition was accurate. Finding evidence for that. Like, look at, I responded to the situation and it actually was beneficial to me. We want to do that. What about the opposite that we mentioned? So the emotions happen. I really kind of wanted to take a moment to dive into this. This is something that I teach, I think it's in week 3 of Intuition Fundamentals, because it is so important, right? Most of us are nervous system, emotions wise, extremely dysregulated. What does that mean? It means that our bodies are constantly reacting and responding to cues in our environment. That literally could be a text message, an email, something happens and we're like level 10 emotional, or where our body is going into fight flight. Your coworker says something and you're immediately like level 9,000 reactive to the situation. So a lot of us are so primed and so reactive to everything happening around us. And this is not something that's like specific to you. It does not mean that something has gone wrong because your body and brain and nervous system is reacting this way. It actually is just an indication of the fact that your nervous system is not evolved for today, modern society, and the way that things respond and react. Our nervous systems are instinctually programmed, designed for old times, right? Like hunter-gatherer, caveman times. If like there is a real threat that there could be a bear around that corner that could potentially kill you. It is a real threat that if you make the wrong decision when you're picking plants to eat, that you could be super sick or die. And so our nervous system is handling people texting you, coworkers talking to you, your boss calling them you into the office, right? As a potential life and death situation threat. And so if you make those wrong decisions, your brain is programmed to be like, this is a problem, like we're in danger. And so the good news is, I wouldn't tell you this just to be like, you're fucked. No, you can reprogram your brain. You can reprogram your nervous system. You can create safety and really prove to your nervous system and your brain that things are good, things are safe. Now, when it comes to fears, worries, and anxieties, a lot of the time we are having fears, worries, and anxieties coming up all the time, right? Like we're always worrying about things. We're always like, oh my God, what if this happens? Like what? And I want you to notice the patterns, right? The same fears, worries, and anxieties that come up on repeat. This literally is so important, and they're generally irrational. Like logically, you could be like, I have evidence to believe that this wouldn't happen. An example being like a fear of flying in an airplane. Like logically, we can look at the percentage chance that you're going to have some sort of accident in an airplane versus like a car, right? Like cars are so unsafe, but you're like, I'm not scared of the car, I'm scared of flying in an airplane. Or I had this like illogical fear that like my mom was going to die. And evidence didn't show that that was the case, right? Like, so I was like, okay, this is, and in having intuition, I looked into like how much of like truth is that situation. Is this a true situation that, like my mom could die? No, it's not true in any near time future. Thank God, right? And then it's like, okay, well, like, if this is not accurate, how do we start to break it down? And this is actually what we do in, I believe it's week 3 of it, I should have looked, Intuition Fundamentals, is we start breaking this down. So if it's like, okay, we have this fear, worry, and anxiety, it keeps coming up. We're going to focus on the one that comes up on repeat. So what the fuck is happening if you have this thing that's not logical, it's not real, right? Because I intuitively looked in, oh, it's not actually the truth of what's going to happen anytime soon. Why is it happening? So why am I getting all these fears and anxiety that pop up all the time, right? And the real truth is it's a miscommunication. It is a nervous system emotion response that is happening to something else in your life. So somewhere in your life at some point you had a belief system that was not serving you. You're out of alignment for your highest potential, right? Who you are meant to be. You're doubting yourself, you're beating yourself up, something like that, right? And so this place that where you're out of alignment had many situations, generally over many years, that started as a young child, that you reinforced this belief system. And when you reinforced this belief system, you felt a certain way. Maybe you beat yourself up, you felt shame, you felt guilt, you felt unworthy, right? All of these things amplify over time. And that feeling is actually what gets triggered in our body. And then we have a brain that is logically looking at, hey, I'm having a certain kind of anxiety, a certain kind of fear, a certain kind of worry that's popping up in my body right now. What would be a reason why I could have that feeling? And this is the craziest shit, right? Our subconscious brain had that limiting belief system that was created during some event that's generally between the ages of 0 and 7, because that's when most of our belief systems are created. You've literally had decades worth of building and amplifying that belief system, but it's still subconscious. It is underneath the surface, so your conscious brain isn't aware of it. Then you have your body, which is holding all of these emotions, and it's literally decades worth of buildup. But something in your body got triggered. You could literally push up, you could have a pressure point, you could get a bruise, you could get an injury, you could literally get a massage, and this could trigger emotions to come out of that area of your body. And what happens? Your body's like, I'm feeling anxious. Why could I be feeling anxious? Ooh, I know why I could be feeling anxious. I could be feeling anxious because what if my mom dies? What if I get on a plane and I crash? What if, so-and-so rejects me, right? Like, it's the same thing, that fear that comes up over and over again. It's that pattern. Your brain's like, oh, well, that would make logical sense to be worried that this could happen, right? And so it goes back, because our brains are creatures of habit, to that same fear, worry, anxiety over and over and over again whenever you have those strong emotions. So what do we actually have to do? We figured out it's not legit. It's not a legitimate concern, right? We don't actually have to be worried about that thing happening. It's not real. Because initially we figured out, okay, was this an intuitive nudge or was this just a fear, anxiety, worry, right? Now we're in the fear, anxiety, worry. We figured out, okay, it's not actually going to happen. Fantastic. But it keeps coming up. Then we look at, okay, so there's a limiting belief that's not communicating with your conscious brain, and there's emotions that are not communicating with your conscious brain, but generally it's the emotion that gets triggered, and then your logical brain, which does not communicate with your subconscious brain, annoyingly enough, is coming up with that, hey, it made sense when you felt this way, so let's bring that back up, and we're going to fixate on that. And then when you fixate on that, what happens, right? Like, if you're like, oh my God, like something horrible could happen and I could literally be on this airplane and it could crash, like imagine how horrible that would be, like how would that be for everyone else? We can spiral real fast, and then we amplify the hell out of that, and now it becomes a whole problem. So now you have a little awareness of what's actually happening. how do we go about shifting this? This is something that we are doing in Intuition Fundamentals, literally week 3. So we break it down into, okay, how much of this was actually the truth? How much of this is accurate? So was the fear emotion actually accurate? Yes, no. Okay, yeah, the fear emotion is accurate. Okay, so somewhere else there is a underlying fear, and we literally piece by piece break it apart. And you're probably like, this sounds crazy, but when you start training your intuition, and literally this is like week 3 of the course, every single person who has been through it has been able to get to the root of what is truly happening. So I don't want you to be like, oh my God, I could never. No. Every single person was able to get to the root. And the amazing thing about this course is, right, like if you get stuck, I'm literally there and I'm going to help you and give you real-time feedback so you know, like, oh, I got to try it from this angle, or I got to go from here. And like, we can piece together so you have a process that actually works for you. And at the end of week 3's class, you're literally going to have the prime example and the root of, this is actually what the fear is. And I can tell you from personal experience, and then watching the girls of the last round go through it, each of them had that like, oh, like that aha moment of like, oh shit, like that makes total sense. I am actually worried about this other thing, and that totally makes sense why this would be projected over here. And the amazing thing is about our brains, our nervous systems, and our emotions, like when you get to the root and you figure out like, oh, I can prove to my brain that that's not true, or like I can shift that with a neuroscience tool or emotional processing tool or energy work, it dissipates so fast. And then literally like freaking magic, you stop having that fear and that worry. Like immediately for me, once I shifted it and I like proved that wasn't the case, and like really found evidence of like how I was capable to overcome that fear and how it was like actually the best thing for me. Like once I like shifted my brain, I immediately stopped having that like fear that, for me personally, the one that was like I had was like the fear that my mom was gonna die, right? Immediately stopped. Because I actually got to the root and found, hey, this is actually where the fear is coming from. And when you make that connection logically and start doing the neuroscience work, you've connected the subconscious and the conscious brain together, and now they can like communicate for that synapsis. And we can be like, oh, we're good. We actually know the answer. We don't have to worry about this other thing. We don't have to take something and apply it to something that doesn't actually have anything to do with it. So if this is something that like you're experiencing, really joining this round of Intuition Fundamentals is going to help you be able to shift and process and work past these fears and worries and really get to their root and make this replicatable, right? The more you practice it, you probably have multiple things that come up. You're going to be able to do this on your own after we practice it and implement it. And so you can start shifting these things, and think about how much better you're going to feel when you don't just have these like constant anxieties, fears, and worries popping up, because each time they pop up, they send you into fight flight, and then you are like literally depleted, drained, and exhausted because you literally just like ran a marathon energetically, emotionally, physically in your brain because of that fear, anxiety, and worry. And that's ultimately what we want, right? We want you to be able to have the capacity, have the energy to do what you want, to focus on the things that you want to focus on, and feel better in your life. So if you are ready to join Intuition Fundamentals, this podcast is going live on the 27th of August, and then you'll have a couple of days because the 31st is the last day to get a 6-month payment plan. Beyond the 31st, you will still have a pay in full and a 3-month payment plan option. But if you want that extended payment plan for your own convenience, that is available until August 31st. You can access Intuition Fundamentals from the show notes, or go to jannaholterman.com/intuition-fundamentals. All right, I will see you all there.